In honor of Speak Now, Taylor's version being out this week, I thought it would be fun to share my Taylor Swift-inspired book rating system. I use Storygraph to track my reading, and Storygraph lets you rate books in 0.5 increments, so that's the scale I use. And I have assigned Taylor Swift lyrics to each point on the scale. The lyric I chose for the 1-star rating: "No one likes a mad woman, you made her like that." And the perfect book to exemplify this choice is Small Game. I keep saying that Small Game has the Game of Thrones syndrome, where up until the last moment, like the last 2 pages, it was a 4-star read. In the last 2 pages, it just went off the rails. I was definitely very, very, very bad about the book, and I stayed mad about the book for like a solid week. So yeah, the 1-star rating is "No one likes a mad woman, you made her like that."
You'll come back each time you leave, 'cause darling, I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream. So it's gonna be forever.
For me, Mafia, Billionaire Romances kind of fall in this category. While I'm reading them, I really enjoy them. But as more time passes and I reflect on the books, I realize that if these men were not conventionally attractive and or ultra rich, they would be red flags. Like, the only reason they are hot is because we are conditioned by society to let pretty people and rich people get away with things, and that's the perfect "I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream" vibe to me. So that's my 1.5-star rating.
I forgot that you existed. It isn't love, it isn't hate, it's just indifference.
I don't remember much about the books I rated 2 stars. Like, I remember reading them and I could probably tell you something about them, but they are not books that I think about very regularly. They were just underwhelming, forgettable reads for me.
Maybe we got lost in translation. Maybe I asked for too much, but maybe this thing was a masterpiece till you tore it all up.
So these are books that had the potential to be fine. Not the potential to be good, they had the potential to be fine. And if they had changed like one thing in the book, they would have made it to the 3-star rating. But something got lost in translation. Maybe I didn't understand what the author was trying to go for, or maybe I asked for too much. Like, I went by the hype of the book and it didn't live up to the hype. A really good example of that is Nimona. Nimona has all this hype around it right now because of the Netflix series. And the premise was very promising to me, so I went into it with a lot of excitement. It wasn't a bad book, like it wasn't totally forgettable, but it also left something to be desired, that if they had changed that one thing, it would have made it into 3-star read for me.
And you're Mr. Perfectly fine.
The 3-star books are like, perfectly fine. Goodreads, a fun time. I enjoyed my experience reading them, but at the end of the day, they were just fine.
Did all the extra credit, then got graded on a curve.
3.5-star rating for me is one of the most interesting ones. This rating basically applies to series. These books are books that I really, really, really enjoyed while I was reading them, but when I put them in the context of the overall series, they are not at the top of the series for me. So they were really good books. They just got graded on a curve, which is why they are at a 3.5 and not a 4-star. A perfect example for this is The Jade War. So Jade War is the second book in the Greenbone saga, and I loved the book while I was reading it. But when I compare it to Jade City, which is the first book, and Jade Legacy, which is the best finale to a series I have ever read, it doesn't compare as much. So it did all the extra credit, it just got graded on a curve.
All I know is I was enchanted to meet you.
These are books that I'm very fond of. I think about them pretty regularly. Not quite 5-star reads, but I adore these books and I think of them very fondly.
Best believe I'm still bejeweled when I walk in the room. I can still make the whole place shimmer.
So these books are like the jewels in the crown, but they are not the diamond. A good example of the book would be The Blade itself. My first grim dark fantasy, my first character-driven fantasy, not genres that I typically read, so I was a bit hesitant going into the experience, but I was completely blown away by how much I enjoyed the experience. The book still shimmered. It didn't like completely wow me. It was a solid 4.5 stars and I really enjoyed the experience.
That's a real fucking legacy. Legacy.
these are books that stay on my mind the longest. I'm absolutely in love with them. It gives me a different perspective and elicits a very strong emotional reaction from me, and they just have their own legacies. That's my Taylor Swift inspired book rating system. I'll leave a link to the Notion page with the rating system in the description box below if you want to go check it out and build your own. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.